Every summer, millions of families, they load up the cooler, they head to the cookout, they watch the fireworks, and for a lot of families, it sounds like a pretty fun time. But unfortunately, if you have a child who covers their ears as soon as the fireworks start, who maybe spirals after eating a few poolside snacks, who seems to be a completely different kid on the 4th of July, that holiday probably isn't the highlight of your summer, and it might be something you're actually quietly dreading. So, what I want to cover in this video is that your child's meltdown isn't just a behavior problem. It's not them being spoiled or a parenting issue. It's actually a nervous system problem. And I want to share with you the research that actually ties into, especially with some of the dyes, why this is and what you can do about it. So, if you're a parent and you're a bit exhausted because your child does fall apart at events that are supposed to be fun, I want to share with you what is going on inside your child's brain, their body, and how you can help them get back on track. So we're going to cover in this video what red dye number 40 does and why it's more than just a sugar rush. We're going to talk about why fireworks and other like sensory heavy environments are actually a neurological event. They're not just simply your kid being overstimulated. I want to talk about why these two stressors can affect the same system at the same time, and that's why they can really create more chaos than your kiddo's nervous system was meant to handle. And with that, then, why some kids fall apart at the fireworks show while others absolutely love it. And then we'll wrap it all together with a path that you can take to move forward to really help your child start to genuinely regulate better internally so they can start to enjoy these events. So, with 4th of July, that's probably where we see this the most, right? There's always the story of that the morning started okay, but then a few popsicles, the fireworks at 9 p.m., and by the end of the night, my kiddo was screaming. They were inconsolable, they were having this huge meltdown, and it trickled into this sleep disruption that lasted for days afterwards. So here's the thing. There is a study from the Lancet that found when they added food dyes to kiddos, they did, and some kids have dyes, some without. They found that it increased hyperactivity across all age groups. And it led the European Union to actually put warning labels on their food. If it contained red dye number 40 specifically, that they were going to say you have to label it on your food. I'm going to bring up my iPad here because what they found is that with this dye, which by the way is the most widely used artificial coloring in the US, but what the Lancet found is yes, it did increase hyperactivity, and they tested different ages here, younger at 3 years old, a little bit older at 8, 9 year old. But what they found is it can cross the blood brain barrier. As a result, it is actually affecting neural signaling. It can trigger neural inflammation, disrupts neurotransmitters, and can possibly cause this intestinal permeability called leaky gut. So, if we put all that together and we say, yeah, usually it's accompanied by some sugars because it's in popsicles, it's in candies, it's in um, often the sweets things. Maybe it's the Kool-Aid or tasty drink they're having. So we might think, oh, is it just the sugar that's causing this effect? But this study showed that it actually has incredible impacts on the nervous system and how the nervous system is able to communicate. So we have, commonly with a holiday like 4th of July, we've got some extra red dye floating around. And then now we add into it this level of sensory overload. So ultimately, I want you as a parent to know that yes, some kids get overstimulated easier than others, but here's one of the keys is that if your kiddo is in fight flight, it is actually much easier to get sensory overloaded because fight flight is specifically designed to let more information in. It's designed to let the lights in brighter. It's designed to let the noises in louder. So if your kiddo's in fight flight, by the time they hit fireworks, their system is primed to just let all this rush of sensory input in, and it's way easier for them to get overwhelmed. So now, what that might look like for your kiddo is they cover their ears really easy. Maybe they get so overwhelmed they don't want to eat. Maybe when you're in crowds, you see them overly aggressive, kind of the fight mode, or overly clingy, the flight mode. Now they have emotional breakdowns because they're simply overwhelmed. I do the same thing in that situation. And if their nervous system is really stressed, it's going to show up after the event as well. That's where we see sleep disruption isn't just the night of 4th of July, but it can trickle into other days. So, when the nervous system has a lot to process, we look at it as a cup. And we're going to pretend we've got two kiddos here. Kiddo 1 with 1 cup, kiddo 2 with a second cup. Why can kiddos show up so differently? Is it's not necessarily the event itself, but what is their nervous system doing leading into the event? So kiddo 1 might have, maybe they don't like, their body responds extra to sugars and dyes. Maybe they let the loud noises in. Maybe they don't handle transitions well. Maybe they've got a sensory issue and the lights, the sounds, everything's coming in extra noisy, and their cup is filling up throughout the day. So now by the time the fireworks come, they get overwhelmed much easier. Take that with kiddo number 2, whose nervous system isn't stuck in fight or flight, so their baseline is a lot lower. So, yes, the transitions are tougher. Playing with their cousins at the lake is a lot. Maybe they do have some junk food, some sugars. And now, when the fireworks hit, their sensory system, it's like it's filled up to the very edge, but they could handle everything during the day before it tips them over versus kiddo number 1, and they were pretty full to start the day, and the fireworks tipped them over so much easier. So hopefully you understand what I'm trying to explain with this scenario. And what happens then is we see a lot of families in scenario number 1 is they're doing so much to protect. Maybe they have avoided the dyes and sugars. They've got some noise canceling headphones. They've got a good plan. When the chaos starts to exit out of the way, they've gotten some extra sleep. But if their kiddo's baseline is starting so full, then no matter how much you protect them, it's still easier for them to spill over. Versus kiddo number 2, if they have good resiliency, they can add all those things to their bucket. They can fill their cup up, and they still get a little stressed, but they recover so much easier. And that's exactly what we love to do with neurologically focused chiropractic care is we have a set of neurological scans to measure how full is your kiddo's cup to begin with. If there's a lot of stress built into the nervous system, your kiddo's cup might be all the way at the max by the time they start the day. Versus if we see on these neurological scans very little stress to begin with, now we know your kiddo has the capacity to start the day with a much emptier cup and handle what goes on. If it happens to be that your kiddo is one where they're overwhelmed, they've got a lot of stress, a lot of sensory issues, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worries, what we do with our gentle adjusting then is start to clear that stress out and let their cup now move into the category of a spacious cup, one that can handle the day-to-day. So if that interests you, if you'd like to learn more of how we help sensory processing issues, how we help anxiety, how we help expand your kiddo's resilience, check out our website, check out our other posts, maybe our videos, give us an email, give us a call. We're here for you.